welcome. In today's video we're going to be looking at this, the Lexus LC500. Now this car's been around for a few years and once again I am late to the party, and I'll be honest with you, I've always been keen on having a go in one of these because ever since this car first was unveiled about 5-ish years ago, it's a breath of fresh air from Lexus. I mean, usually their run-of-the-mill stuff, barring the LFA, ISF and GSF, are quite, let's be honest, a bit dull. They are pensioners' cars. But the LC500 is far from that. It looks, well, it's a concept car on wheels, if you ask me. And this one has been kindly lent to me by Fairmont and Classics. This actual car is up for sale, so go check that out. Links will be in the description down below. They specialise in all sorts as well, modern stuff, classic stuff, so yeah, have a little butcher's around their website. They have got some cool stock in. Let's just jump straight to it. Let me jump in the car, see what it's like to drive and tell you what is what. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button to see more content like this. This video is brought to you by Car Vertical. Car Vertical is an online vehicle search history check which has access to one of the largest database networks in the UK and in Europe. It's a very handy tool for when searching your next used car. You can check whether the car in question has had mileage rollback, hidden unrecorded damage, or even if it's been stolen in the past. And it's a tool that I would 100% recommend and use. It's been handy for me in the past when searching for used cars out there, and it could potentially save you thousands in the long run. It's very easy, it's very simple to use. Just go onto the Car Vertical website, hit the reg in the car in question that you're looking to purchase, and use the discount code SID in the links down in the description for 10% off. The LC500 is the luxury coupe, hence why it's called LC, and it's not a boulevard car. It's like a mishmash between the two. I thought it would be something like a Mercedes S-Class coupe, but it's more on the side of a Jaguar XKR or a BMW 8 Series, that sort of thing. But immediately, when you just potter around in it, you instantly feel special. And everyone just stares at this car. In fact, I remember the first time I saw an LC500 on the road, I was at the passport office in London, and there was a big long queue. And I just remembered by the one-way system, actually, a Naples yellow, just like this one, LC500, just cruised past, and I was just shocked. It just had this concept car look to it. It just didn't look like a production car. Is it pretty? I'm not too sure. I think it's striking. It's definitely striking. Only Lexus would come up with a design language like this. It's got a hint of LFA to it, but most of it is just so unique and different and very Japanese in a good way. So under the bonnet, like I said to you earlier, has a 5-litre naturally aspirated V8. It's tuned by Yamaha and it produces 470 odd horsepower and 398 pounds-feet of torque. Goes through the rear wheels via a 10-speed torque converter automatic. Does 0 to 60 in 4 and a bit seconds, and it will go on to 170 odd miles per hour. And the engine note is, well, let me whack it into sport, whack it into manual mode, drop it down a few gears, and that is a proper soundtrack. There's no like butterfly valves, there's no pops and bangs or any of that nonsense. It is just a baritone, muscular V8 soundtrack. What you can't help but do is play with the paddles. It's nice in automatic mode. We'll get to some of the negative points of this car in a minute, but the engine is what dominates this car. It genuinely does. It's lovely. It's got all sorts of tones throughout the RPM range. I mean, oh, constantly up changing, down changing, just to hear that V8 blip. It makes a great exhaust note too. but it's not too intrusive either. It's the right amount. I mean, you've got nice induction noise coming in, you've got a throaty V8 baritone down the road, but if you just want to potter around and cruise, you can. It shuts up. Now, when I first jumped into the LC500, you notice that all the regular switchgear for your drive modes, even the gear selector, and going through the navigation system is, what's the word, a bit fiddly. I mean, for example, you've got drive down here on this selector. However, it does take quite getting used to switch it to manual mode. Now, you can activate manual mode via the paddles instantly, but that's only for a temporary brief moment. As soon as you stop playing about with the paddles, it will revert back to automatic mode. But one thing you notice about the LC500 is it's a very easy car to navigate round town and round narrow B lanes. The scuttle's low, it's easy to see out, it doesn't feel big, it doesn't feel bulbous. The BMW 8 Series feels quite large, so does an S Coupe. This doesn't, this feels cocooned. The exterior is stunning, but this is one of the very few cars where it's got a leery exterior and it follows into this cabin. Now, usually when I jump into a Japanese JDM style car, it feels Japanese. There's a couple of like plastic bits that you usually find. Not in the LC500. Everything feels bespoke. Everything down to the switchgear, down to the dials. Speaking of dials, we've got that clever dial readout like you find on the LFA, and it switches between the rev counter tack depending on what mode you're in. Speaking of modes, there's quite a few. There's Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and an individual mode. Now, Sport Plus isn't really needed for public road driving. That more backs off the traction control. Sport is where you want to be. It's the right blend for the ride comfort. It's the right blend for the throttle response. The gearbox becomes a little bit sharper. It's got 10 ratios, 10 cogs on this automatic gearbox. And when you leave it in auto mode, it can be a bit indecisive at times. What Lexus say is the first 6 are for, you know, acceleration, and then the other 4 are overdrive gears. Obviously that's for refinement, MVH, and I suppose fuel economy. Not that fuel economy matters in a car like this, but it's the vibe that you get from the LC500 that makes it so unique, special, and it just feels totally different and totally its own. You don't jump in this and correlate it to anything else. It's got its own identity, and it makes no shame about it. It's not perfect. For instance, the layout of the cabin ergonomics, like the satellite navigation and the media system, to pair your phone up, it is a bit fiddly. I mean, you've got this touch control down here and there's no real knob, so going from menus you have to sort of scroll, and while you're driving that can be a little bit distracting. Nothing much happens until you get past 4,500 RPM. Peak power comes in at 7,000 RPM, and the red line is 7,300, and it's worth extending it because honestly the soundtrack you get is for a torque converter auto. It's got this snap on the up change, and on the down change the blip. Oof, oof. 10-speed auto. It's not the fastest, it's not slow either, but sometimes when you ask it for a down change there, it can just be a little bit hesitant. Like I said, it's not too bad, but it could be a little bit faster. Oh, that engine. 398 pounds-feet of torque. Lower down in the RPM range, it's got some punch. It's not ballistically quick. You kind of have to wring its neck a little bit in order to get the performance, but like I said, it's rewarding. And that induction noise, it's just lovely. It feels mechanical. There's none of this synthetic piping it all into the speakers nonsense. It's pure. It's real pureness. And I just love staring at the cabin. We've got a screen there, we've got some weird sort of slab that's over down this side, but it's all funky and different, and yeah, it's strangely wonderful in a good way. These are all positives. I love these dials. I love it how it sort of animates from one to another when you switch between Comfort and Sport Plus. You never ever see an LC500 on the road. I think it could be down to the badge, maybe down to Lexus's image. There's nothing wrong with a Lexus. Lexus make one of the most robust, durable cars out there. You just never ever see one. And I think that's down to the fact that in the UK there is a bit of a badge snobbery going on. People will, or would, rather go out and buy something like a Mercedes SL, BMW 8 Series or 6 Series at the time. I'm going back when this car was sort of launched, its rivals, or the Jaguar XKR or the F-Type. But I think that's a bit of a shame at the same time, because this car feels exquisite. And that's the word I keep coming back to, exquisite. There is just a sense of vibe with the LC500, no matter what speed you're going. Threading it down a country B road is actually very, very enjoyable. It is sporty. It's not the most dynamic car. There's a couple of things it lacks. Like I said, the gearbox, it's just not quite as sharp as I'd like it to be. And the steering, though it's sharp and quick, this variable ratio sometimes can catch you off guard, and in terms of feel, there isn't any. There is none at all. It's very, very dead. 470 odd horsepower doesn't sound like much nowadays, but on UK B roads, you can use 60% of this car's performance and the red line without getting into any trouble. And that's the problem with a lot of the new coupes now. They are so quick that you can't really exploit its performance. The moment you give it some in second or third gear, you've gone past license losing speeds, and that is where the LC500 comes into play. You can really enjoy that performance, and it's got the soundtrack to go with it. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I've driven a car where I just wanted to leave it in sport and hear that exhaust, hear that V8, because it's just a joy, an absolute joy. But yeah, I've been itching to drive a Lexus LC500. Thank you very much, Fairmont Sports and Classics, for letting me have a go. This is definitely a car I would recommend to buy. Mainly because it's totally different, it feels totally special, it looks stunning, it drives well, it's got a fantastic engine, a 5-litre V8. What's not to like? I think if you bought one of these and ran it for a couple of years, I don't think it would depreciate at all. So yeah, a very, very good car. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, folks, see you later.